Welcome to Brainstorming America. I'm Ken Rollins, here with my co-host John Merrill and a guest, Don Killingsworth. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Have you on the show. Hey, John.
Hey, friend, how are you?
He's got the biggest grip when he does it. It hurts my hand. But it's good to see you, John, and good to have you on the show. And we're going to talk about things that these people out there that's watching and want to know more about. They've probably seen this on TV, on Fox or CNN or something, but them the little bitty shows like that, they just talk about the edges of it. We go deep in it. We dive deep. So, John, you want to go with our guest?
Yes, absolutely, because Ken, we have been working for so long to try to coordinate schedules to get Dr. Killingsworth on our show. And now, in the 74th episode of Brainstorming America, we have the educational and instructional leader at Jacksonville State University as our special guest today. Dr. Killingsworth, we are so excited to have you, and we are doubly excited about the great work that you're doing at the friendliest campus in the South.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, John and Ken, for having me on. And it's a pleasure to go anywhere to talk about the wonderful things that are happening at Jacksonville State University. It's an exciting time at our campus, I'll tell you that. One, it's the largest enrollment we've ever had. And I can say that this is the fourth consecutive year in a row that it's been a record enrollment for our institution.
That's tremendous.
Wow.
9,955. Now, I'll just roll up and say 10,000.
Yes,
but,
sir.
You know, the academics may not like that.
Yes, sir.
But overall, great things are happening on our campus, and excited to talk about a few of those today with you.
Well, you know, the thing to me that is so special about Jacksonville State, and especially under your leadership, is the commitment that you have to the university and the commitment that you have to the institution. You are the first person, to my knowledge, the first person in the history of the university to have attended the university as an undergraduate student, to have matriculated through the educational process, and then to become the president of the university. And they are so fortunate to have someone of your personal commitment, your great character and integrity to lead the university in the way that you are currently leading it. You talk about the high water mark of breaking enrollment records for 4 years in a row. That's directly related to you and your leadership. Talk a little bit about your time at the university, about your growing up and how you chose Jack State, and then how you got to basically where we are today.
Well, thank you for that. Jacksonville State University has been very good to me and my family. But I will say that my predecessor and mentor, Dr. Meehan, was a student at Jacksonville State and went on to become president.
Okay.
So I will follow in his footsteps. Okay. I went to Jacksonville. I arrived there as a student in 1994 from Alexander City. My older sister was already there. My dad had actually attended Jacksonville State in the 60s. My younger sister followed me, so it was kind of a family thing. Growing up that close to Auburn, we all went north, which was the good move. But I went through and had a great undergraduate career at the university. So much so, the student body elected me as the student government president in 1999, and that was the time that Dr. Meehan was actually becoming president.
Right.
So I was SGA president at the time, and Dr. Meehan was coming in as university president. Graduated, went straight into graduate school, got a master's in counseling, which I used heavily in my days in Montgomery and now as a president, but went on and finished my graduate work and started at the university in 2002 as a full-time employee later on. I've been there 22 years now in various roles. Started in the academic side, went to external affairs, mostly 15 years in Montgomery and in Washington, working on behalf of the institution. Then the opportunity came for me to step in as president, and it's been surreal at times, but really a lifelong dream of mine to run my alma mater and see the potential that it does have.
That is phenomenal. You know, now my experience, Ken, you can probably speak to this even more in depth than I, but I remember Dr. Houston Cole being president, Dr. Ernest Stone, Dr. Montgomery there in Montgomery, and then, if I'm remembering correctly, didn't Dr. Meehan follow Dr.
So it was, you missed an M in there.
Okay.
So I remember Dr. Montgomery.
Okay.
Now, I was not a student during his time, but he was around, and he gave me a lot of advice over the years before he passed on. Dr. McGee,
Yes.
Harold McGee
Yes.
came in after Dr. Montgomery, and then Dr. Meehan followed Dr. McGee.
Meehan was out there, what, 75 to 80 years? It seems like it. Don't it?
About that,
I got some questions for you. You have, as your, I don't know if it's a law, but the universities have to have a different group of foreign students for a mixture of, I don't want to say adversity, but having, what am I trying to find?
well, it's a diverse community of
Diverse
students.
community, okay,
Yeah.
diversity too. You have a lot of Chinese, Japanese, whatever, different foreign countries. People don't understand that helps the people at the college by interacting with people of another country and learning their ways of life, that it benefits the college overall to have that diversity there.
Absolutely.
So, and I've heard people say, well, why do they have so many Vietnamese or whatever in there? There's a reason for that, right?
Well, it's not a law, but
Right.
we take pride in our international population. So we have two programs really. The International House and Programs is a community where we pair 20 American students with 20 international students.
Wow.
They live with each other, and it's unique, and they learn each other's culture. Then we have our international student population, which is represented by 44 countries. Right now, the number one country, or number 1 and 2, is Nepal and Bangladesh, is where most of our students are coming from.
You don't have any Hamas out there.
Well, I don't ask religion or any of that, but
Yeah.
I ask if one, they can pay, and two, if they're going to study.
One of the things, I think we got to go to a break. He hollered at us over in the booth. I can't understand what he's saying, but
But
I
he's
think-
trying to keep you informed, and I will tell you
I'm
this,
waiting on
we're
you,
excited
yeah.
to have you join us today for this special program with our special guest and friend, Dr. Don Killingsworth, and we'll see you back here right after this first break.
Welcome back to Brainstorming America. Ken Roth here with John Merrill. John, you take it. I know you got some more stuff for our guests.
Yeah, well, Dr.
Dr.
Killingsworth,
Killingsworth.
look, you know, one of the things that's so special about the different roles that you've had at the university is the impact that you've been able to have in those different silos where you've been assigned to work at a particular time. I would like to know, obviously, if I ask you to tell me which position you like the most, it would obviously be the presidency,
Absolutely.
because that's where you are today. But leading up to the time where the board offered you the position, you accepted it, what would you say was your favorite role and why?
Wow, that's a little tough. One, I always loved working with students because that's the only reason that we exist, is to help them achieve that next academic goal, whatever that may be. I loved working down in Montgomery and Washington. I was able to meet and work with so many talented and fun individuals, including you when you were a representative, and even the secretary.
Yes, sir.
I love that part.
And we even saw each other in Washington before when you were
Absolutely,
working.
just walking the halls.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, it's that part when I was leader of the Student Government Association, I had that feel of politics, and you remember when you were SJ president
Yes,
of
sir.
Alabama, that feel of the politics and how you can help make a difference. So I was the voice of the whole student body. So that kind of led me down that road into getting involved in politics from the other side of it, which is the, we don't say lobbying, but government relations
Right.
aspect, the liaison. I
Right.
was there to answer the questions between the elected officials and the university.
Well, and speaking of that, Leah Cawthon, who is in your governmental affairs role now, is doing a tremendous job at the university. And one of the things that has impressed me so much about her service to you and to the university is how open she's been to you and your suggestions about things that y'all need to focus on, individuals you need to touch, making sure that the presence, not just locally, but in Montgomery and Washington, is also felt, which is one of the reasons why you've had numerous legislators on campus on a repeated basis. Senator Katie Britt was there just last week. I think it's, and of course, Congressman Rogers is there all the time. He's an alum, and he is so dedicated to making sure that the university is doing the things that they need to do and has his support when necessary. But I think she needs to be praised, as your other team members do, because you have an outstanding staff.
Well, thank you for that. And Ms. Cawthon does a wonderful job in our government relations and external affairs. I handed that role over to her. I was the last one in that position, so it was a little close to home to me. I wanted to make sure we got the right person. And she's a 2003 graduate from the university, and she had been working in Montgomery in the agriculture side, which her family has been a part of down in Montgomery for decades and generations, really. So learning the education side, as you said, helping, being open to hints and some type of advice to get her forward, because it's all about the relationships in Montgomery. But she is a people person overall, and she has been well accepted into that role. As far as the whole team, I have a wonderful team. We just finished trustee meetings this week up at Little River Canyon, in a beautiful area
Yes,
that
sir.
we have property up there. And the trustees were complimentary of how the university is being ran. But
At the Canyon Center.
At the Canyon Center.
Yes, sir.
And they looked at me and I said, please look at the staff. They're the ones who make everything turn. And a wonderful team, and I could not do it without them.
Yes, sir.
That's your question. And this is something I thought about with the other presidents out there before. Think about in all your years with that university, as when you're coming up to where you are now, did you meet a student that you had affected their lives, that they come up to you and says, I want to thank you for doing this, 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 and this? You grinning, I know you got one. What was that, and tell the story about it?
Well, it's that getting to that job. So we still educate a lot of first-generation college students. And for one story in particular, a student who I had seen come to the institution that didn't have a whole bunch coming from, as they say, and they needed assistance, but they were willing to work for it. And that's our typical student. And I remember that student, I said, listen, if you're willing to do this and that and study and go to class and make good grades, it will change your life forever. A lot of times when we see these first-generation college students come in and achieve that academic goal, it not only changes their life, but it helps change their family's life. When you see commencement and the whole family is cheering during commencement because their one child has changed their family's course of action going forward. And then you think these students may go back to their communities and maybe open up a business or work in whatever role that is available to them. It helps change their community's life. And we're in the life-changing business, and I love it. And I could there's countless numbers of those stories because I see them at the end, and of course I remember them at the beginning and how far they've come.
I was thinking more like somewhere you saw out in public somewhere that somebody came up to you and says, you remember me, I was so, you helped me doing so, and you changed my life. You ever had any of those kind of?
Every day now, as I get older, I forget the students, and they'll remind me to say, "Oh, you helped me this," and then when they start going through a story, I'll remember. But you see them come and go. I get to shake the hand of every student graduate now, and now they're all kind of running together. So yes, I hear constantly. I love Jacksonville State. It was the best time. I learned so much. I'm doing well. I've started a family, and I'm being better citizens because of it.
That's better than any amount of money they could pay you to.
We need that
change
too.
those lives.
we need some money too, but no. And we tell them, especially the new graduates, hey, give when you can. Give when you can, even if it's $1. But right now, if you can help us recruit a new student, I'll take that.
Wow. I can see it in your face. You smile when you're saying that, because changing lives, making a difference in these kids' lives,
that's what it's
I
about.
saw a Nick Saban look on your face when you did it. Cause
trust the process. That's
Speaking
it.
of changing, we want to continue to change lives, but we don't want you to change that channel. We're going to be right back after this break for the third and final segment of this week's episode of Brainstorming America with Dr. Don Killingsworth.
Welcome back to Brainstorming America. Ken Rollins and John Merrill, and we're here with Dr. Don Killingsworth from JSU, Jacksonville State University. Go ahead, John.
You know, Dr. Killingsworth, and I know this does not bother or concern you, but one of the things that the university is known for, and there's a number of people that know about the university through no other way except for their athletic success. And you had unbelievable athletic success over the years at Jacksonville State University. National championships in football, national championships in basketball, national championships in baseball, national championship last year in bowling. I mean, your athletic program is one of the top athletic programs in the nation when it comes to the competition that you face and the success that y'all experienced. Why don't you talk a little bit about where we are today and where you hope to be in the future?
Well, it is, again, another exciting time. We are in our second full year of Conference USA action, and we transitioned to Conference USA to compete at the FBS level in football. Now, all of our other Olympic sports outside of football that we call the Olympic sports have been Division I since the early 90s. We have had success. Football, baseball, for a while, we were the only school in America in any division to win all 3 national championships in the major sports. But really excited about this year. We set an NCAA record. We were the first school in the history of all sports, any sport in the NCAA, to launch a sport and win the national championship in its inaugural season.
Wow.
And we love that. Women's bowling is very popular in the state of Alabama right now as well.
Wow.
High schools all over the state have a bowling team.
And let me say this, your athletic director, Greg Sykes, not only is he a good friend to me, a good friend to the people that watch this program that have the privilege to know him, but he is an exceptional athletic and administrative leader. I don't know if there is a better athletic director that has ever been at Jacksonville State or any other institution of higher learning in the state of Alabama than Greg Sykes, especially because of his connections at the NCAA level and the things that he's been a part of. I mean, people may see him and not even recognize who he is. He's at the Final Four every year working. He's on the baseball committee for selection and other things. He's involved in every aspect of everything that goes on in the NCAA. There's another chance to brag on a fine man.
Well, and I've known Greg Sykes for a long time. He's been at the institution for 32 years now, and he has had various roles throughout his tenure. But he is well respected in the NCAA and by his colleagues across the country. He is always at the Final Four. You see him, and I kid him. I said, Greg, I saw you on national TV again. He said, I never know where that camera is, but I know I know he knows where that camera is. And the baseball, he was just put on the Division I baseball championship committee, which is a strong, just overall testament to him, but for the university itself, we get that exposure.
Absolutely.
But he has transformed us through this time as we move to this new conference, and he has led our athletic programs well. But we are excited for the future. We want to win at everything, and we have a great coaching staff now in place, and the bar has been set high, especially in bowling, as they head right now to Orlando to compete in their first tournament of the year. Their season starts in September and goes all the way through April.
Wow.
So it's a long season.
And you have to tell us before we leave athletics about your experience at the White House with President Biden when y'all were a part of the national championship teams that were invited to come to the White House for your celebration.
Right. It was an honor. Tremendous feat to win a national championship. It's very hard to do. But then to be recognized at the White House, and that day, if you remember, was the day that President Biden said he was stepping back. So it was Vice President Kamala Harris's first time to address a crowd publicly. So there was all kind of news media there alongside it. But it's a time they bring all the spring sports really in to recognize all the national championships. There with them was Auburn's golf team that had just won. With that, though, they called and said, hey, we've got a bowling team. Can we bowl in the White House? The White House was gracious enough to let them bowl for 2 hours in the Truman Bowling Alley in the White House.
Wow. That is phenomenal.
It's a great opportunity for the girls.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how many colleges I've ever heard of that talk about bowling. I mean, bowling has been, but I mean, I love bowling, and I'm sitting here listening to this, and I said, why hadn't somebody done that before? That's good. Now, what about this Title IX thing? Y'all get any problems with that, with the women's sports?
No, sir. We really have to be cognizant to make sure we're in a good footing on Title IX to make sure we are following the law.
Right.
And we have a consultant that comes in about every other year to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do.
Gotcha. I hadn't heard anything, so that's good, because I see enough of it. Just before I left to do this show, I was watching some of it.
But
And,
it's a changing time in NCAA athletics, and that's a whole nother show. But it's a different world right now.
Yeah.
Well, you know, as we draw the program to a close, the most important thing about the university is the academic programs that y'all offer. And of course, you've been recognized as the premier educational institution in the state of Alabama for decades. That's been a hallmark for Jacksonville State University. Also, as an outstanding nursing program in producing healthcare workers at the highest level, and not even to mention the business school and other things that have separated themselves. But talk about our academic programs and how proud you are of the institution.
Well, you're right. The only reason we're there is for those students to receive some type of instruction and some type of discipline. And we have wonderful faculty that are leading an educational opportunity for our students in all kind of fields. But there are a few to highlight. Yes, we are known for teachers, and we put out the best teachers. We guarantee our teachers when they leave our institution. But I am turning our institution to the law enforcement training capital of the state of Alabama. Our McClellan campus in Anniston has always had the Northeast Alabama Police Academy for over 50 years. We've launched the Investigator Academy, a new command college for those upper level departmental officers and the captains and the chiefs. So I am proud of what we're doing for law enforcement training. And then our engineering side, working with business and manufacturing to make sure that our students are ready to go to work on day one. And again, I guarantee those engineers when they get out. So many, you've talked about nursing. Again, Jacksonville State is known for certain things, but I'm proud of our academics, and I would put those up against anyone out there.
Well, the university is very fortunate to have you as their instructional and academic leader, administrative leader on the campus, someone of your commitment, and as I said before, your integrity and your character, it speaks for itself. And I have been honored to be a friend of yours for many, many years, and we're excited to have you join us today and to share with our audience about all the great things that are going on at the university. And we hope that you have enjoyed this outstanding program with Dr. Don Killingsworth, the president of Jacksonville State University. We look forward to seeing you again next week for the next episode of Brainstorming America.